Hi guys, welcome to another stream of Endless Space 2. Today we're going to be talking about Endless Space 2 Stories, the comic series we've been making. So with me today I have Jeff Spock, aka Slow Hands, and Arkel, whom you've never seen before, who's here for the first time. Say hi.
Hi.
Okay, good. All right, he passed the test. He can stay. So today, basically, we're going to be talking about what we've been making so far and the plans going forward. So some of you already have seen behind the scenes on the blog, but we wanted to go a little more in depth and show you some stuff you may not have seen before. So let's go back on what we've made so far. Let's show you the comics we have so far.
Right. So far, of the 8 starting factions, we have done 4 comics. I will leave it up to you as to how many more there will be released over the next few months. We did the Lumeris first, the story of the family backstabbing in a sort of mafia atmosphere. The United Empire Assassin, the discovery of the Riftborn by some Academy heroes, and then the story of Horatio and a little bit of cross-feeding with our old Dungeon of the Endless game. And so now we're going to move on and talk about some of the upcoming stuff.
Okay. So yeah, upcoming stuff, we have the Unfallen comics. Actually, it's just one. It's just weird. English.
Come on.
Basically, yeah, the Unfallen are the G2G faction. So it's been created thanks to a bunch of community votes by the community members. So you guys, which is why we decided to have the comic kind of be a reflection of that. Basically also be a kind of a choose your own adventure type, where we will periodically ask you for your opinion, and Olivier here will be drawing what you guys ask him to do. So far we've already created the hero. You guys have you've chosen a Harashin hero who's cynical, not too old but has a few notches on his belt. So that should be a very interesting companion. Basically, that one guy, as we mentioned earlier, is part of a dynamic duo. So we think it's about time to show you guys who the other guy is, who's going to be basically the brains behind the operations.
Right. So yeah, what we did is we decided that the other half of this dynamic duo, there's the hero you vote on, and this little character that has simply been nicknamed Little Green Man, who you might have seen sort of popping up in some of our artwork. He has an interesting origin story. Usually I do the art briefs and I say we need this, it should look like that, or one of the designers will, or story engine the other writer. What happened here is the artist just started putting this character into lots of the mood pieces and event information and that sort of thing, until it came to the point where I one day went over to the artist and said, "Who is this guy? Who are you putting in? What?" And he said, "No, I don't know. I just sort of liked him, and he looks like kind of a cute guy to have in the universe, so he's now a character in the universe. I mean, he shows up in the game. He must exist, so we're going to put him into the comic book, the Unfallen comic."
So yeah, a few of you actually were pretty sure that this guy was going to be a major player, because as speculation was running rampant on the upcoming major factions, many of you were like, "Well, this guy is popping up everywhere, so surely he's someone important, right?" So yeah, this is pretty much what you've seen so far. Olivier actually wanted to talk to you about the way he's envisioned him.
Okay, so this is the concept I made for the coming Unfallen comics. Actually, the anatomy of the character is pretty much like what we have in the in-game illustrations. What differs a little bit is the clothes. Basically, the clothes is something that is really special to the comics. What was a little bit challenging with this one was the combination between the clothes and the anatomy of this guy.
We don't know what his body shape really is, so.
Exactly. The anatomy is kind of a mystery. For example, if you look at the neck, it could be very wide, it could be very small, you don't know. And you have this piece of drapery, the scarf that is hiding everything. So yeah, this was the challenge on the concept.
Okay, the next bit actually is going to be moving on to, I think the camera is sideways a bit. Okay, that's a lot better. Hi guys, I'm over here.
No, just focus on the cute ones. Oh, okay.
Well, you know, you're fine for a man your age. You're very, okay.
We'll talk later.
Let's move on.
Thank you.
So let's move on to basically the next comics actually coming out tomorrow. Because we're obviously the Unfallen comic is going to take some time to be drawing because the next vote. So the first vote is going to be after you guys have seen the first 2 pages that we'll have been working on. So you'll be deciding which direction the story is going to take, and then he's going to carry on working every couple of weeks. You'll vote for the next step. So that's going to take, I don't know, maybe a couple of months. Exactly. And in the meantime, yeah, we already have some things planned for you guys. So the next one, of course, is some people who, you know, kind of like, as I can see, they're kind of crowd favorites from the chats.
Yes.
I've seen their names pop up quite a bit. There's one guy who seems to really like them. So let's, without further ado, talk about the upcoming Cravers comics.
The Cravers.
All right, tell me about the Cravers comics.
Okay. Yeah, well, we'll get into this a little bit later, but when we try to come up with a comic story, the idea is to sort of present a piece of the faction, a part of the faction life that you wouldn't necessarily see in the game. The problem with the Cravers is you have a bunch of guys hatching and eating things. You know, it's actually maybe not all that interesting, a little bit too alien. You can't really show 2 Craver adolescents having an angsty afternoon because they're not like that. So we decided to turn that around. Instead of showing the Cravers themselves, show the reaction of another group of people that runs into the Cravers. So to see sort of what the menace of the Cravers is like. So that's the tact we took for the comic that we're gonna show you. I guess a couple little bits of artwork from today, just to tease you for tomorrow.
All right, let's see them.
We have.
Okay, so this is the concept for the Cravers that we have for the comics. Well, the challenge for this concept was to have a version of the Cravers that can be put in several panels in the comics. And obviously, when you look at the creature in game, it's something that is very complicated. You have a lot of muscles, a lot of metal parts. Well, it's actually very complex. So yeah, the challenge was to simplify everything. And I think that the artist here, it's Yoon Park, a Korean guy, a very talented guy. He did an amazing job.
He did what other comic? He did
the Lumerous one.
Lumerous, that's right.
And for information, we have 2 Cravers here. We will only have one in the comics. François will talk about that later.
Yeah. Well, so thanks for spoiling that. I guess. Yeah. So
wow.
I don't actually have nothing more to offer on the subject just now.
Okay, we can move on to the next concept. And in the comics, we'll have some a pirate crew actually. We have some diversity in this crew. We have a Gnashast, a Mavros. We have a Isho and a Kalgeros. And some other representatives of other minor factions. Well, this was a good opportunity to have some diversity and to show that the Endless Universe is rich. So it was cool to do it.
Yeah, so as some of you may not be actually very familiar or may not have noticed, but actually there are very few artworks that feature the Gnashast. So the one on the left, but we really like this minor faction. Actually, I think we may have mentioned a couple months back that they were originally one of the case studies for the original looks of the Lumerous.
Right.
So we're really happy to actually be finding a chance to put them somewhere where they can actually be seen by more people because they're really cool.
Because they're big and ugly. We like them.
Yeah, exactly. So let's. How about we move on to the next step, kind of reveal how the sausage is made?
Yeah, and in this case it's not as ugly as sausage making, so we're not so embarrassed. Basically, when we're developing a comic, we start with a story. And what that means is myself, story engine, these guys, Scamax, sometimes Space Trolls there, but that's rare. We sit down, we just brainstorm ideas. What's the faction like? What story do you want to tell? What slice of life do we want to present that's an interesting story, even if you don't know the game? So we try to usually come up with 4 or 5 different ideas, and then we bat them around, narrow it down to 1 or 2, and we decide. Finally, we come up with like the one idea we want for the story. That takes usually a couple of weeks, actually. Then the next step is a script, and this is when Olivia really starts to get involved, because then we're cutting the story into 8 pages. So, you have to think about, okay, bottom of each page, what's the dramatic moment? What do you get to make the person want to turn to the next page? Do you want a 2-page spread? How's that going to look? And this sort of thing. So we're chopping up the story, and we're also starting a very basic idea of what the layout might be like. And from then on, it pretty much becomes his problem.
Exactly.
Okay, so the next part basically is the storyboard, right?
Yeah, no, the concept first.
Oh yeah, the concept, right, because now we have the script, so we have all the characters fleshed out, but now we need to make sure that we all agree on what they look like.
Yes.
So that's when, the artists first get involved, and that's what you're going to be telling us about.
So this is an example of a concept that was made for the United Empire comics. It's the main character, it's Hansen, a janitor. So you see him with his jumpsuits on, and we really thought that this concept was great, but we had an issue with it. It's that the jumpsuit, while the clothing is a little bit too contemporary. I would say that you could walk in the street and come across this guy. So we wanted to avoid that and make it a little bit more sci-fi. So we have another version of this concept. With more unusual shapes in the clothing. We experimented a little bit. We have the pockets that are put sideways. So in the end you have something that is very original, and this is what we wanted to have.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely tell that although he doesn't look like he doesn't have his pockets inside out, he's definitely coming from the future. Props if you're old enough to get that reference. So the next step, basically, once we have this down, is then the storyboard that I was just mentioning earlier. Now we can actually get to it, and that's when it really gets interesting. That's when you start really putting the story together. So that basically you have all your pieces, and now you try to fit them on the page according to the specifications of the concept,
script.
The script. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So here we zoom in on the second page of the United Empire storyboard. What we have here is is a great storyboard, obviously, but it's exactly the step where we want to have everything like. We want to make the reader comfortable, and we want to avoid any kind of misunderstanding. So, for example, here with the train, with the maglev train, we wanted to have the feeling that it goes always in the same direction, and it was not really clear. For example, here in the second to last panel, you see the train going in the background, and then in the last panel, you see it's going in the foreground. We wanted to avoid that, and we corrected that in the second version of the storyboard. So we can go to it now.
And now
it will zoom. Yeah, it will zoom.
The second version of the okay, there we go.
Exactly, on the corrected second page. So you see all the red parts of the storyboard are corrected parts. So for example, the last panel, you see the train reversed in the direction, so you really get the feeling that we wanted to have.
Oh yeah, you can see that it's the same train that's just arrived in the station.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That's definitely the moment you want to catch these, because otherwise later it's going to be a lot harder to. It's going to be a waste of time if you have to go back to the drawing board, literally, and start over.
Exactly.
So then once usually this looks a lot rougher than this, but this art is actually really good at drawing with the first draft like this, which is where it looks really clean. But we've shown you some stuff in the behind the scenes that looks like it's almost just shapes of the characters, and as long as they're fitting on the page and you have the right dynamics, you can see that the storyboard is already something we're comfortable with. But this basically moves us to our next section, which is the drawing and inking
the
parts.
inking parts, yeah.
So these are pretty interesting for reasons you're going to go into right now.
Exactly. Okay, we have here is the second page of the Lumeris comics. It's the drawing version of it. So you don't have you don't have the storyboard here, but obviously you have a level of detail that is rather high for the moment. And this is what we are looking for in this step. And then we can move on to the inking. So if we can show another example. Yeah, well, it's not the same page. It's
not the same comic.
It's not the same comic. It's the Euro issue comic. So the inking consists in it's not an evolved version of the drawing. It's more like finding the right balance between the black zones and the white zones. And if you manage to find this balance, it will be pleasing to the eye, and it will be great for the reader. And I think that this is what we have here. When you look at this, you see a mix of black and white, and then we can proceed with the grayscale, which will be easier.
So so this is some inking still, just the process in action. We actually had one of our artists, that's Yun, who made this and the Lumiris comics, who's basically recording himself doing the inking part. So as you can see, he's basically drawing over the original draft, basically keeping what he likes, and now he's adding the inking bit.
The color, the shadow,
that's what's going to add basically the depth to the picture. And as you'll see in basically 20 seconds, now he's doing the jacket. Now that's when it starts to look really good.
So you have these big black zones in the comics, which make it stand out really.
Okay, and the next step is, of course, the grayscale and coloring. So as you were mentioning, that's when basically you just keep on with the process, and that's when you start really showing the depth and the perception of volume in the story. And
then the images become more readable. What can be said in this step is that it's a good way to show all the special effects that we want to have. For example, here in the Reefborn comics, we really want to have these propulsion effects really readable. We want to have the control panels in the cockpits stand out as well. So the grayscale part is good for this.
Okay, now let's see the color.
Okay, yeah.
Last step.
Okay, so the same page. So what we do for the color is to take a color that is representative of the faction. So here we have blue for the Reefborn, and it's the same process for every faction. It will be green for the Lumiris, it will be golden for Horatio, and so on.
What will it be for the Cravers?
You'll find out tomorrow.
No, you'll find out
this is a good question.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Anyway, we have blue for the Reefborn, so we implement it in some parts of the page, and to integrate the color better, what we do usually is to have a layer with a slight blue everywhere in the page, so you get the feeling that it's black and white, but it's not exactly the case.
Tricky. Okay, so now that you've got pretty much all the story down, and like all the drawings done, all the coloring is done, the inking and everything, there's one last thing. Well, a couple of last things to do. So the first one being, of course, the cover of the comic. Yep. So now tell us, what goes in creating the perfect cover.
We have an example here with the United Empire. So what we do is we ask the artist to work on several compositions, and then internally we decide on which one could be the best according to the elements that we want to show in the comics, in both the arts and the narrative. So here we choose to have the last cover. Can we show the final cover?
Yeah, stop being a tease, please.
Okay, so this is not the final cover, it's the final art.
It's not the final text, that's true.
It's not the final title has changed.
So what we have here, it's Empire Recycling, but it's not that. We have the two faces of the two main characters in the comics, and we also have the main character, Hansen, walking in the streets. and you have the city in the background. We really wanted to emphasize this city we wanted to show that the character is part of the United Empire Society, a society that is in transition, that is complicated. This is what we wanted to show in the cover.
And for the record, my favorite is the third from the top left. And actually, there was one problem with this one, which was well, you might go into it. Like.
Yeah. Well, the United Empire logo in this one is a little bit deformed.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Right. So you have a strong effect of perspective.
Yeah.
That is kind of strange.
So we couldn't use it, but it looks cool.
Anyway, and Empire Recycling was a title I was never made aware of. Actually, I quite like it, but I think the cleaner is a bit more like mysterious.
The cleaner is a little better,
yeah. Okay, so once you have, well, it looks like everything is almost ready to ship, but basically, you know, that's the time you need to clean up the last few details.
Yeah.
And to do that, actually, you go through a phase of editing, revising. And that's pretty much when I come in, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, Francois is very helpful for that. Because what happens is, you know, you write the script and it goes up to the artist and you see it come back in a while, and it's 2 months later and you've done 1,000 other things and it comes back and you read through it and it looks good because you know how the story was supposed to go because you wrote the story. But sometimes things get shifted a little bit in the comic and the characters change position or whatever, and the text you actually wrote as the script no longer applies. So it's great to have a fresh set of eyes, look through, read through, and go, wait a minute, this transition doesn't make sense anymore. And you have to go, oh, yeah, see, I knew how it's supposed to go, so I saw that, but somebody who reads it for the first time won't. So there's a good final editing pass that we use our in-house consultant for. It's very helpful.
Yeah, basically, earlier, Olivier mentioned, he showed you the concept of the 2 Cravers and said that we go back to it. Basically, in the story, originally, there were 2 Cravers. But it was a bit too confusing with the flow and everything of the scenes. You'll find out why very shortly. But we actually cut one of them for that exact reason. The only problem was that some instances of the text were just referring to Cravers as opposed to the lone Craver that was left. So you have to catch this because, of course,
little things like that.
You know, one of you guys puts their eyes on it. You're gonna find out, and you're gonna say, "Well,"
and then we're gonna be embarrassed.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
We don't like
that.
This. We try to avoid that when we can.
Yeah, that's when I come in. So yeah, then you know, of course. As for the comic itself, that's the last step. But of course, it wouldn't be complete without the help of our web admin, Dark Armor, who's the one who basically cuts it in little pieces to make it pretty and pop up on the wiki, where you can read it, and so you can see all the panels coming up one at a time. Actually, if you'd like to put the link in the chat so people may like, because I've seen a couple of people who said, "Oh, I've never actually taken the time," so we really want to make sure that you actually get a chance to
check them out. Check them out.
So yeah, just open it in the browser, and when you have some time later, check it out. So yeah, that's the link. Oh, actually, I see that you've spoiled the surprise. You've put the link to the Cravers because, of course, while we were streaming this, we're also uploading the Cravers comics. So you may very, very soon.
I was unaware of this.
Bear with us for a little while.
Yeah, don't go, not yet.
Exactly. I found out today,
cool.
right now,
excellent.
That we're uploading this at the same time. So yeah, we really hope that you like this story. We have actually a couple of last things to do. We're going to be doing a short Q&A if you guys have any questions. But hey, hi, Devil Dog. You're arriving, right on time for the quiz. So we hope you've been brushing up your knowledge. So this quiz is going to go this way. We're going to ask one question, just the one question. It's fairly easy. It revolves on you having read and sort of maybe remembered the first comic, the Lumerous one. So, if you're quick enough, you might just go and open it in another window. We're going to ask that one question. The first right answer in the chat, will win this glorious Endless Space 2 t-shirt. Maybe not the one off my back, but one that is actually your size.
Yes.
It is pretty cool. I'm not sure if you can zoom on this. Get a look at this guy. It's actually Endless Space 2 United Empire ship, and we really like it. And actually, we didn't even have one for
No,
for
but
Jeff here. So
I have
he's
Endless
wearing
Legend,
Endless
which
Legend
is,
one. Yeah,
you know.
check this out. It's really good. Really, a great conversation piece with your friends,
Illuminati
your
confirmed.
colleagues at the
Yes.
water cooler, the ladies, anyone. So the question is, in Upstage, the Lumeris comics, two under families vie for dominance. Basically, the question is, which family do these two under families belong to? That was really, really rough.
Which of the 4 families
Yes.
are these 2 under families the vassals of, basically?
Thank you very much.
What is the name of
Thanks so
that
much
one
for
of the
that.
4 families? The clock is ticking!
Okay.
Answer?
And
Not yet. Okay.
while you guys figure out... Oh crap. Wow, that lasted a whole of 3 seconds. Who was this with the right answer? They aren't... Okay. We're gonna contact you in DMs. Basically, I'm taking
So wait, the competition's over?
Yeah. I'm sorry.
was it?
I said it. That was a fast one. That was just we mentioned
really
earlier
fast.
you should brush
Nice
up on your
job.
knowledge. So yeah,
impressed.
Durant is the winner. Amplitude Studio is gonna contact you in private to get your details. So don't go anywhere. So right now, basically, this is over. Congratulations. We can skip up to the next section, which is a quick Q&A. If you guys have any questions on the comics, feel free to ask. In the meantime, I can ask, why are you wearing the old Endless Legend t-shirt? We have such, nicer Endless Legend t-shirts.
I think it's gorgeous. I don't know.
Okay.
I think since I joined the studio, I've probably gotten like 15 or 20 different Amplitude t-shirts. So I have like an entire wardrobe of t-shirts.
Okay,
I just wear whatever's
So
clean,
why
basically.
Are you, hosting your own contest to give these away?
Yeah, if you want a used t-shirt with, I don't know if that'd be that great a giveaway, but...
Oh, someone's asking when will we have a Volter comic? Wouldn't you like to know?
When we have a Volter faction, okay? So forget it.
We cannot say anything.
Are these comics only for online, or are they also physical comics? Are they for free? So these comics are accessible for free. Right now we're only online. We try to basically make them available
Smells of
as widely as possible, but we run into a whole bunch of problems.
Yeah.
Basically, it's very difficult to make your stuff available for free on Amazon, Kindle, wherever, for free. Like, you can't do that. You have to put a price, and we don't want to.
So the problem is, if you want to put something for free on Amazon, what you have to do is put it on Amazon with a price, and then put it for free somewhere else. Tell Amazon that there's a site that has it cheaper, and then they'll lower the price to 0. So that's kind of a long and involved process, and we haven't done it. So they're free and they're online, but at the moment we don't have a paper version.
Okay, well...
Sorry.
Well, somebody wants the t-shirt if it smells of you. Wow.
These guys will tell you, bad idea. But...
Someone says, thanks for the Endless Legend art book. Well, we're very happy to actually finally be able to
it was a
give it to you guys.
labor of love. Do the t-shirts have writing secrets hidden on them? No, they don't. No, they don't. That's sorry.
Not even, the established
2017. No, that's not really secret.
Nothing special.
I
Nothing
guess
Illuminati
not.
on there.
Maybe if you're, just squinting at it hard enough.
Will you expand the Endless lore into other media, such as short stories or short movies? Or giant Hollywood blockbusters? No.
We actually have short stories. Well, we have the one.
We did a short story, yeah.
And that was also a community.
That was community vote.
Community created short story, the Flight of the Grail, which I think came with the physical editions of Endless Space 2. So if you've got your hands on one, you have the booklets.
Yeah. We have. I mean, there's a lot of potential and a lot of ideas. So far, there's nothing really concrete. I mean, we'd tell you about it if we had something going on, because we want to make buzz. So it's something we're thinking about, clearly. Obviously, we'd love to do it. Hopefully you guys would like to see it. When it happens, we'll let you know. At the moment, we're playing with the comics and thinking about what else we might do.
Okay, so congratulations again on the Art of the Legend release. Are there any plans to make a printed version? So this one is kind of pretty much all same answer. I'm going to say, we'd like to, in the future, we actually have some other secret cool things that we think you'll like before that, but we're not forgetting. We know that there is a very strong demand for, a cool coffee table art book And I know I'm a really huge fan of art books. Like I have
Yeah.
a ton at home as well. So I'd really like to have some of something actually
That would
worked
be
on.
great. That would be great.
So we're not forgetting you guys, but that's more of a maybe later kind of thing. Physical art book of a version of art book or else. Well, that's not really threatening because you're on the other side of the ocean. So I'm sorry, that doesn't work, Devil Dog. Other question: how many comics do you think can come out? Well, I would say one by faction for starts.
Exactly.
Currently planning one per faction.
Yeah, we have a work cut out for us for
Yeah.
the moment. We have at least 4 more to work on, so, you know.
That'll keep us busy for a while, and if we start adding DLCs and more major factions, we'll certainly do comics for them.
It's in process.
Can we tell them what the order of the next
order?
comics are? Or
Yeah,
do
I
they know
think
it
so.
already? Do you guys know it already? What the
No,
order?
we
of the
haven't,
next-
we haven't mentioned it yet, actually. That is a very good
Do I
call.
get fired if I?
No, I think you can
Yes,
say
someone's
this.
saying yes, so I'm not. No, you say it.
Okay, well, basically, the order is going to be, for the remaining ones, is going to be, so the Cravers is already live.
Boom.
Yeah.
Then I think is,
Then we have the Sophons.
Exactly.
Then the Voliani.
oh,
And then the Unfallen.
Right.
and then the Unfallen, because, of course, everything's, still up in the air about the Unfallen. We don't know the story yet.
Yes,
I
because
mean, we
you
have
are
a
voting
vague
on it.
idea of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But then after that, it's dark. It's like there's a wall here, and only you can help us get through it. So, yep. Will there be comics about minor factions? I mean, if these really work out, and there is a strong demand for comics, we might look into.
Can I have another answer?
Oh, sure, sure.
Yeah, I mean, it takes there's a lot of time and effort that goes into one of these. You saw a bit of the process here and how we do it, and to do 16 of them, that's big. That's really
I
big.
meant some for minor factions.
Oh,
I didn't
okay.
mean like all
Okay.
16
So,
minor factions.
Could there be comics about some minor Yeah, I mean, we could do other comics that focus on a minor faction, but I can't imagine doing 16 of them.
Like imagine if you took a faction like the Bagabas, for instance, or
Right.
the crab people with the planet-wide intelligence.
Yeah.
Probably not much going on in the comic of these guys, Like,
Yeah, that'd be pretty
I'm-
surreal, I think, that one.
Yeah, it would be
Yeah.
very artsy and.
On the other hand, like Nashast, you could maybe do something with. Yeah, I don't know. It's a thing we'll think about. But right now the priority is the major faction.
Yeah, sorry, I just get enthusiastic about things.
Yeah. Which is nice. But.
Okay, Oba is my favorite character from Dungeon of the Endless. I think he deserves his own comic. I'm still hoping he's going to appear somewhere in Endless Space too. Well, we had you guys vote for his bio back in the day. We're just
Right.
waiting for the right time to show him to you guys.
Yes. So
So,
There-
questions.
okay, I can't really say too much.
If you had new major factions, you mean when? I mean, maybe.
Oh, I mean, it's like with Space One and with Endless Legend. Yeah, we'll certainly be adding more content. We'll certainly be adding major factions, but who and when? We're working on the updates. You guys know what we're working on. One piece at a time. One piece at a time.
How do you feel about fan-made writing and art content? Also, thank you for taking the no problem. How do we feel about fan-made? At least fan-made art is really appreciated. I know that. All of it is really appreciated, but I know that last year I received a mail from a dad.
Yeah.
Who was sending his son's drawing, and the son was like 7 or something,
Yeah.
and they were playing Endless Legend together, and the kid really liked the Dusk Guardian, and he just drew a picture of it,
Right.
and that was so adorable.
It's still on the fridge.
Yeah,
we still
it's-
have it.
well, like we put it in
That's
the
great,
fridge, we
yeah.
sit every day. We really love it. So if you're 7, basically we love your art. No,
Well, mine looks that way, so it's
okay,
kind of,
well, pretty much the same.
I think-
I can call it for crap.
like with mods and community involvement. If you guys want to tell stories in the universe, I mean, you can't sell them because it's our IP. But yeah, we're very happy to hear you guys come up with your own theories, your own ideas. In Space One, there was a whole extended 1,000-year war between the United Empire and the Amoeba that some guys did a website about, and we're filling in lore and this and that. For Endless Legend, we had the Temple of the Endless Mind, I think, or something. It was one of the pages where people could post stories. So yeah, I mean, we're cool with that. If you want to play in the universe, go ahead. That's fine.
Yeah, that was also really disturbing fan fiction involved, like kind of a crossover between the Ardent Mages and the J-pop group AKB48.
Okay, I missed that one.
That is in the I don't know, in the depths of the Endless Legend forums, and that is a curiosity. We've seen all sorts of things, and they're always really appreciated. Like, even if you're just writing for your own leisure and you think no one but you would like it, someone else might, we might. So feel free to post it. There is no entry barrier here.
Definitely. Okay.
There's one question. Do they hate the UE for making them zoological pets? Were the UE actually the Tikkanen's masters? I don't think we committed to actually saying.
I don't know if we're very precise on that.
I'm really not sure we actually stated who were the masters and owners of the Tikkanens. We don't have access to the wiki, and this, as you can see, if you just ask a very specific question like this about background point of lore, you might stump us. UE are everyone's masters. At least that's the way they see it. Looking at the lore.
It's a very subjective question there. Yeah. It's just funny.
A Craver hunt. Well, that's. I mean, if you want to see kind of a Craver hunt, I would say that you should read the comic. Maybe you can see what happens.
Play the game.
There is definitely a Hiso taking up arms against the Craver. It doesn't really turn out well for him. When can I buy out factions with influence?
Game design question.
Yeah, that's a game design question. Woo. Maybe we can take a couple more questions and then we're going to wrap this up. So if you have them, now's the time.
Otherwise, thanks very much for listening.
Entire factions of what? Please, entire questions?
Entire questions about entire factions. Okay.
What's your favorite comic to have worked on, Olivier?
Okay, that's a question for me.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you were just standing there, just get involved.
Well, obviously, I would say the Horatio because it's the one. Well, I drew the Horatio, so yeah, it was interesting for me. I'm not used to drawing these kind of things. I was working for animation before joining Amplitude, so my drawing style is more like animation and cartoon stuff and something. It's not realism like I did for the Horatio. So yeah, it was pretty challenging.
Yeah, that was a really fun one to write as well, because when we made, at the time in Dungeon of the Endless, we were going to have one last expansion which had Horatio in it. That was like a thing we're actually thinking of for Dungeon, to have like a little Horatio backstory in Dungeon of the Endless. Well, as it turns out, we never got that done. But we had seeded some things in the trailer and in other places in the game that could have hinted at Horatio. So I got a great kick out of finally being able to write this comic and tell that story. So I got a lot of personal pleasure out of that. And thank you, Olivier, for making it happen.
Yeah,
it was good. It was good for me.
That was also really good because, many people actually were, just reading the thing, and then you had some others coming back to it and, making the connections and theorizing.
That was really fun.
Of course, there's this huge thread in the Endless Space 2 forums discussing, the actual lore, what really happens, and trying to figure everything out. And that's a lot of fun to read as a developer. So carry on with it. It's great. Are the arts and sketches for Endless Space 2 that didn't make it? Are there arts and sketches for Endless Space 2 that didn't make it in the game? Would you release them? Wow, that's a tricky question to. I think I'm gonna hand wave this by saying maybe, but usually not really. Like, some of the stuff that is not considered and doesn't make it into a faction can sometimes become a minor, like you had with the Neshest and the Lunaris. But some other things that we're not happy with, we just say, well, no, this was not. This is not good enough for the game. This is not what we wanted. So, usually not really.
Yeah, I mean, we'll show some of the art that evolved into the final version, but things that we didn't really use and ideas that were a little too far out, yeah, we don't usually publicize those. But
especially because, you can always grab an idea that wasn't right for a game that you had and maybe keep it for later. And maybe in some other games going to work.
And like Horatio, it might come back, so you never know. You never know. You like to keep those in your pocket, just in case.
Okay, let's take one last and wrap this up. If you could make a ship filled with clone, wouldn't you make a fish?
No, forget it. That's a discussion thread that's been ongoing for a couple minutes. Okay.
Yeah. Let's go back.
The fish ships are simply perfect.
I think there was
they're
a
gorgeous.
question about Yeah, Cravers plushies, and
Cravers plushies.
everyone would want to buy these.
Isn't
I'm
that
just
an
putting the idea
oxymoron?
out here.
Cravers plushies. They'd be made of steel and
I mean, surely
and
they're
vat-grown muscle. I mean, what,
like they're really cuddly people. It's just
Yeah,
that they
okay.
squeeze you really hard until your bones
Right.
break.
Until
Yeah, I think I mean, it's kind of like in the same realm as all these other cool merch things that you guys clamor for.
lots of good ideas.
Like maybe further down the line,
buy
but that's really more of a. Oh yeah, we see these things that maybe other games that we're fans of make, and
Right.
that's something that we're
So it's
looking at,
interesting.
and sometime down the line, maybe. Yeah, sure. Okay, let's wrap this up. Thanks
Great.
for joining us again today. That was really, really fun, if a bit chaotic.
yeah, sorry. Thank you very much.
So
Absolutely. It's a lot of fun.
Jeff, that was Olivier, and I am François. So Frog Squadron, Arkel, and Slow Hands, and we're discussing comics. Thanks again for joining us. If you have any, follow-up questions, don't hesitate to ask either on the forums or Twitter, Facebook. We're always there. And until next time. And also, don't forget to read the Cravers comics.
Yes,
Let's put the link again. See you
just
guys.
in case. Thanks a lot.
See you.